What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you enjoyed episode 4 of Hard Knocks featuring the Dallas Cowboys. We are here once again for our post-Hard Knocks discussion on the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel. Please do subscribe. Our panel this evening, going clockwise, starting with me, the incomparable, the incredibly mustached Roy White on Twitter at RDub3, ROY. How goes it this evening?
It's going great. Very exciting because we got to see what smidges of a full force Cowboys offense might look like, and that is enough to tingle the tights just a little bit.
That's right. Next up in our particular group of destiny, we have the one and only Meg Murray on Twitter at Meg Murray. That is 4 R's. You can hear both Meg and Roy and our fourth panelist here tonight on the Blog of the Boys podcast network, Meg, every Friday on Girls Talking Boys. The sweater you're wearing, Meg, repping your favorite team. So congratulations.
That is true. You can find it at the Dallas Cowboys Pro Shop.
That was profiled on tonight's episode of Hard Knocks. Our the fourth horseman this evening, Tom Ryle, who joined me earlier today on our roster reaction live stream on Twitter at Tom Ryle BTB. Tom, did you enjoy HBO programming?
Yeah, it was. There were a lot of things to pull. Of course, I do the immediate written recap of it too. So I was streaming along with it, and I especially liked being able to work in the word resplendent, referring to Azur Kamara's mother.
That's right. This was a big night for mothers. We saw Azur's mother. We saw Isaac Alarcon's mother again. Meg, I want to start with you. Why have we not, the four of us, had a meal that Micah Parsons' mother has prepared for us? Because it looks like she's capable of doing that in spades.
I want whatever Queen Charisse is making. She is the main character. She is the moment. I love her. And anytime I get her on my screen is a blessing. Her food looks amazing.
Roy, did Micah make up for his loss in chess to Ben DiNucci by just housing Leighton Vander Esch at Connect 4?
Yeah, now this feels like a setup by the Hard Knocks crew. This is something I can't wait to ask the producer about, if this just occurred organically or if they planned it to where they would show Micah losing at everything he was on camera for up until this episode, where really, like, I don't want to be too metaphorical, but was that not a absolute passing of the torch of like one stud linebacker and leader in the linebacker room to another? And when you get your ass kicked that badly in Connect 4 and you can't see the next move that's preventing you from adapting, I don't want to make too much of that, right? But that clearly shows that Micah Parsons' thoughtfulness is on a different level, I think, than some of the other linebackers in this group. And unfortunately, maybe that was not so good of a look for Leighton Vander Esch. Not looked good really in any of his appearances here on Hard Knocks, has he?
Yeah, it's been a tough scene for Leighton, certainly here on Hard Knocks. Tom, am I reading too much into this, or is Micah being the like everyone coming to my house type of person, like another level of leadership to him? Like maybe now I'm trying too hard to over glamorize the first round rookie that we've all fallen in love with, but I kind of thought like, wow, that's really cool that he's serving at the center, no pun intended, actually serving of this entire group.
Yeah, and to me it looks like it's deliberate. That's another move he's thinking ahead on, is that he's kind of establishing himself as a central point for that defensive group, for the linebackers, and you got to admire the guy for having the moxie to do that as a rookie. And I think it might be working. It's kind of interesting that you actually saw LVE twice, because there was that odd little moment where I think he gave, was it Joe Whitt, the little approval for his meeting?
Props for the virtual meeting, right? Yeah.
It was like, oh, really? Yeah. I was surprised Whitt didn't tell him, like, I don't care what you think.
Meg, we got a taste of the virtual meetingness that the Cowboys had going on last week. This has been a unique season of Hard Knocks. You are a reality TV aficionado. This is very Big Brother-ish in that it's stuff happening after the actual action. Because, again, if this was a normal season of Hard Knocks with the preseason already over, we would have a regular season game this week. So Hard Knocks would have been pressed to get all the roster cuts that we saw today. The Cowboys are now down to 53 players on their roster, but they didn't feel the need to do that because they have their finale next week. So that being said, Was it awkward for you, Meg, to watch them elevate Isaac Alarcon and Jaquan Hardy and these people that we know did not make the team?
Yeah, I mean, it was, first of all, it was more like the Housewives reunions to me.
My mistake.
So, it's okay. But I will say that watching this episode, knowing exactly what's happening, not exactly what's happening with most of these guys, but what happened today with them was kind of sad. And I was like, are we not going to get a little finality to this? Like, but you can't throw that together in one day. And I get that. But just why are you making us love them more? Why not focus on somebody else?
Yeah. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah. We know that they actually have been building now clearly towards 3 storylines. That's Jaquan Hardy, Isaac Alarcon, and Azur Kamara. And, Kamara got a happy ending.
So far, because he might not be on the team by next Tuesday to that point.
That's true, but Alarcon we know will be on the practice squad because he's a freebie under the international pathways, and we've got to find out with Hardy, who may still be around and who could. There's still roster moves to be made. So yeah, we kind of know maybe the end of the story, but we may not really know.
Yeah, Micah Erickson says on our YouTube feed, felt bad watching, knowing about the cuts. Yeah, Roy, it kind of felt like, like when you see a spoiler about something. I feel like this is safe. I very vividly remember I saw on Twitter the day that Joffrey died on Game of Thrones, and when I got to that episode,
you were saddened by that. That broke your heart.
I wasn't
That's
saddened
classic
by
RJ.
it, but like the scene, I could not get into. You know what I mean? Like when I ultimately got to watching it, because I knew what was happening. You know what I mean? It wasn't suspenseful to me. And so that's what I Bleed Blue 365 says. Like, I hate to make suspense out of these people's lives and their careers and everything they're striving for, but it kind of felt like when you do see a spoiler about something and you try so hard to put it out of your mind, like, I didn't see that, anything could happen. It felt like that to me. Did it feel like that to you?
Well, yeah, it did, especially whenever they would show like the trio, right? Hardy, Alarcon, Danucci. Hardy, Alarcon, Danucci. And you're like, yeah, all these 3 are getting cut. And here's the somber music over top of it that basically says no matter what they do, they're still going to be gone. It did take some suspense out of it, right? And now looking to the next week, right? I almost feel like it'll be too late by the time that we see what happened to these guys. Where I'll ask, how much will I care, right? Because at that point, we'll be 2 days away from opening night. So, did it take some of the sizzle out of the steak for this episode in particular? It did. I thought overall this episode was probably the weakest of the 4 that we've seen. What did you think of that, RJ?
I saw a friend of the show, Bill Yuma, tweet this, and Yuma joins the show a lot in the live feed. And Meg, I want to get your opinion on this. This felt to me like the most Dak Prescott-y episode that we've gotten. And granted, Dak has been at the center of just about every episode, but the part with Dak, I hate to call it this, but instigating the Amari Trayvon Diggs fight, Dak just, we say this so often, over and over and over again, and I get that people get sick of it, but he's such a great leader, but he understands how to lead and how to press different people. And that's such a really rare skill. And it was nice to see that in that particular environment.
Yeah, it was really fun to see. I feel like, first of all, I'm going to go and say last episode was not as fun as this one.
Oh, I got
way more out of this. Like, whether it was sad or not, I got more out of this episode.
I did get some great lines from this episode.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that. But what did you like then about? Was it Dak? Was it? What did you like about that? Well, let's elaborate on Dak first, Meg. Let's stay in order.
I will stay on topic. We got to see a bit more. You got the epic throws from Dak with the music in the background, and we got to see.
I like how much he uses the B. I like how much he uses the B word as like a noun for everything. I'm gonna chuck that B. I'm gonna sling that B. right? I'm
Yeah.
gonna run that B, right? I mean,
this was-
everything is up. He's gonna take care of that B, and I believe him, right? I would trust him
do
with my
believe
B.
him.
we got existential Dak last week. You mentioned it, Roy, on the live show after talking about the haunted house, right? Like that was kind of like fourth wall breaking Dak. Tonight we got, and this was a clip that they tweeted out earlier, like business, like Shark Tank Dak. You know what I mean? Like, hey, this is my game. But like what I loved about that is, I don't know if any of you were like this, but like I was always inventing games with my friends in high school. You know what I mean? Like you were always doing like we're gonna throw this ball and do that and like whatever. And it was you had the rules like written on like one of those like scrap sheet of papers that you ripped out that had the like phalange parts of the notebook. You know what I'm talking about? The like whatever they're called. That were super annoying. Like that was just the way. I don't know what it was called. The feathery. That was the word I was thinking of. But I know that's not. You know what
Were
I'm
you
talking
going
about?
for phalange? Like what
No.
was going on there?
No,
I
but
know
like
what you're talking about.
you know what I'm talking about, like this, where the spine of the notebook is, and you because
Okay, and you rip it out, right?
But
We
the
got
annoying because you had the awesome ones that you would rip out and it would be even. It had like the 3 holes, but then you had the ones that were just the spiral, and you would rip it off, and it had like all of the spirals. You know what I'm saying? And it was all like kind of pom-pommy. I hated that.
Yeah. Well, I remember those rules being written for games like that. But I didn't quite understand how the pylon game was even played in this clip. Can anybody explain?
I
the
think the
pylon
goal was
game?
to knock the pylon down from the opposite side of the end zone. That was my understanding, at least.
Okay.
But what did 88 and 19 have to do with it? Is like
Well,
that
'cause-
part of the board or?
I think again, my understanding here was that like that's your target. That's what you're throwing at. So
Okay,
like if
I
you're
got it.
selling it to Cowboys fans,
Yeah,
you're
got
just
the 88 and 19.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So he was thinking ahead. He also, acquisition costs. I mean, he had a lot
Yeah.
going on.
He
Tyler
already
Prescott,
had the profit
let's
margin
go.
figured.
Yeah, exactly. Mr. Wonderful would be proud. Tom, Micah, not Parsons. Erickson says, I enjoyed the team chemistry. The veterans seemed like they were really rooting for the rookies.
Exactly.
I loved Tom at the end of this episode when DeMarcus Lawrence, of all people, was on the bench with Ben DiNucci. I can't say I've ever seen that before. That was really cool. There was an explain-a-brag, which is a community throwback, where he told Ben, he said, look, one team may not want you, but 31 others might, which was kind of like a, look, dude, it's not happening here. But like let's be real. But you're still playing for a lot of other teams that could potentially see you and like you.
Yeah, there was that, but I was really locked into to Zeke when Hardy was out playing, and Zeke was just into it. He was cheering him on and just really getting it on. And then, his personality. They could have done the whole 5 episodes basically about Ezekiel Elliott, I think, and had a very entertaining show. It's kind of an odd thing because I think HBO kind of got stuck with the bye week getting thrown in there and still doing 5 episodes and one less preseason game. And I think they really didn't know how to handle it. And we kind of have seen that come out with the fact that we're now set up for an episode about, I'm expecting the drama of going through who gets cut and who makes the roster when we already know the outcome. And I'm wondering if that's going to be the whole episode or if they're going to come up with something about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game and getting ready for that. It'd be interesting to see how they treat it.
Yeah, Roy, they've gotten away from the sort of standard timeline of Hard Knocks because of the change in schedule this year. And this was kind of the first we get footage from other places episode. We got the Micah Cookout Barbecue. We also got the Comedy Club. Your thoughts on Terrell Basham's DeMarcus Lawrence impersonation, which for some reason we saw twice. I get that the second one had DeMarcus walking up and made it awkward, but we did not need to see the joke twice, and we saw it right away, like right back to back. It was kind of like, we've seen this punchline before, but your thoughts?
Yes. No, I agree. I mean, it was the same joke, the same cadence, like for his first time.
It was awkward.
Right? For his first time, it was pretty decent, right? Now, it's a pretty pro Basham crowd. I'd hate to see how he would deal with a potential heckler in the scene. But for his first time, right, I thought it was a funny story. I laughed as he told it, and the impression of DeMarcus Lawrence is pretty funny, especially the idea that Tay was able to convince them that, or at least convince them in his own head, it seemed like, that he did own some portion of that building, because the guy that owned the building actually shared his financial advisor, and therefore their money is in the same places. Exo facto, I also own this building. I love the mental gymnastics that exist there.
Meg, you raised your hand.
Property.
Meg raised her hand. I think she has a point here.
Like on point symbol is what I was going for. His impressions were on point. Like that's exactly how DeMarcus Lawrence sounds, and he did it. He did a good impression of his little coachy over there. So that was like, I think it was funnier watching like D-Law walk into the room doing his voice, because it literally sounded like him talking.
Yeah. So, Roy, you've been banging this drum. Otis says, I'm upset that we didn't see the rookie talent show that we normally see. I don't think that can happen next
Boss
week.
man fat.
Well, I definitely don't think that's happening.
I thought for a second in the final meeting where Mike McCarthy was dressed up in his nice button down, and it was the final team meeting. I thought that was going to be like the rookie talent show. Hey, this is the last time we're all here. Let's have some fun. Let's have some laughs, right? Let's have some team camaraderie. No, it's like, let's name the team captains. And he did that little awkward kind of backwards walk move, that little half moonwalk thing that he did, that I thought was, I mean, I do enjoy it. And I think a team really enjoys it, right? When a coach shows that he can laugh at himself. And like, I know Jason Garrett did do that a lot behind the scenes, but we never really got to see it. And it's nice to kind of see it every now and then, because he gives us a lot of reasons to laugh outside of that, right? Laugh at him. This is one of those situations I think we're all laughing with him.
So I have a lot of thoughts on the meeting. I am Jacques says, what the hell was Mike wearing?
Airport carpet.
Is that actually out now? Are we done with the bright, vibrant button up? Because if we are, I need to burn.
It was not bright or vibrant.
It wasn't.
Otis said he looked like an earth science teacher, is what Otis compared it to.
Otis is right.
It felt like, as a child of the 90s, it felt like the outfit that your parents wore when they went out for the night. You know what I mean? And like, and you were at home with like your older sibling or cousin or babysitter that was babysitting you, and you know, like you ordered pizza. Like I vividly, like I wanted to put like Are You Afraid of the Dark on TV. Like I just kind of like reverted back to that exact mindset.
It was the classic case of a guy who thought he looked hip and didn't.
Guys, we don't need to be afraid of a print, but we do need to stay away from hotel carpet, and we do need to tuck our shirts in.
Yeah. So I had this thought, and I don't know if
tuck mode again.
I don't know if any of you can counter this, but I thought about this in the moment, because he said, he was like laughing at himself, to your point, Roy. He said, I own other clothes besides coaching clothes. And I thought, have we ever, since he's become the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, not seen Mike McCarthy in a long sleeve? Have you ever seen him wearing a short sleeve shirt, whether it's a t-shirt or a polo? I can't say so. He's always got long sleeves on. Always. Isn't that fascinating? He coached, and the episode talked about how hot it was outside, and he's always wearing long sleeves.
I'm having one of those like glass breaking moments where I really never thought of that before, and now I can't stop.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this was a particular moment for me. The other thing that stood out to me about this was the like picture that they used, the graphic to show the Cowboys Jaguars matchup, the two helmets they had. It was the old Jaguars helmet with the gold background. Remember the ones that would blend? And I was just kind of thinking, like, guys, this isn't hard. Just get an updated file for the Jaguars helmet. You know what I mean? Like you can't be looking, you can't look like this. I know you only play them once every 4 years, but still, let's get up with the time. David Saunders, Tom says it was a midlife crisis untucked shirt with flare on the cuffs. Very mid 2010s.
Are we thinking he was trying to go a la Austin Powers, maybe?
Well, the walk, like to Roy's point, you can kind of tell he's done that before. You know what I mean? Like he's moved.
That's a move.
That's his like go-to. That's his go-to.
That's the point in the shimmy.
Yeah.
Right? That's come on over here, baby. Get some of this.
That's his, he's definitely done that socially.
Do you like what you see?
100%. That's every wedding he's ever been to.
Right, dude.
Tom, your thoughts though on seeing Isaac Alarcon be named captain, and that was a really sweet moment in that meeting, honestly, and I'm glad they chose to include it.
Yeah, well, it was obvious that he was one of the three focuses of the whole thing, and you just like the guy. I mean, there's something about him that's just he has something that a lot of the other people do because he's so new to football. He didn't have the American college football experience. And he has this kind of childlike thing about him that's very appealing and that kind of makes it a little easier to relate to him.
Yeah, I agree. I did think, not to go back to McCarthy, Roy, but because you could tell McCarthy was also setting up the joke when he was like going through his slideshow. He was like, I know Isaac wants some cake. And then he like hit the slide and nobody laughed. Like that, or at least maybe they laughed, but we didn't see it. You know what I mean? Everybody's just like, "Oh, nice," because of the scene on Hard Knocks.
Did he get cake for being a captain?
That's a great point. Like, how did he?
That would have been the good reveal, Mike. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's more of a you made the practice squad type thing. Roy, what else stood out to you? What have we not covered yet?
I mean, I think there was a phrase I thought that mojo moments would be like the phrase that took over camp, and we never saw another instance of a mojo moment. Though I do think another phrase became the popularized phrase, and I don't know if this is just like a football wide thing or something that the Cowboys have popularized here recently that I just haven't heard a lot of. Bring in the juice, right? Everybody's talking about juicing up now and bringing the juice and telling guys they got to have the juice. Right. And essentially, right, they're just saying you gotta be energized, gotta bring, your own hustle. And I love Dirty kind of firing up the team to say, look, I can't be the one that continues to tell you guys it needs to be better. Or it's just not going to be enough at some point. So that phrase, I guess, to me, kind of took over and became the phrase that is now stuck in my mind the most of getting all this juice.
Tom, do you think they are bringing the juice adequately?
I hope so.
No, you think so? That's the question.
Yeah. Well, remember this was about the week where they sat 40 players and barely had enough people to field a team that were actually wearing pads and ready to go in that game. So yeah, they didn't have a lot of juice against the Jaguars, so that's not exactly a measure. I think they can bring the juice. I'm looking for them to bring the juice, so we're going to hopefully be seeing some juice coming.
So, Meg, on that subject, some people have said that this season of Hard Knocks is boring. I disagree. I have found it really entertaining, and we've gotten the point I've made is we've gotten a lot more star power than we normally have in other seasons of Hard Knocks. But if I allow myself to absorb the take that the season is boring, I think it's just because there's such great harmony on the team. Like everybody likes each other. Everybody's happy. Like I think that contributes to the lack of drama on television. Yeah.
Well, and I do agree with you for sure. As one does. But I will say I wish they would have structured it a little different. I know they have a formula for how they like the Hard Knock seasons to go, but I think this team's a little bit, maybe as someone who is a fan of it and follows it very closely, I think this team is a little bit different in that, if you wanted to find controversies, we could have, but you were looking in the wrong places. You're looking for guys that are going to get cut, and they were going to get cut. Like that was going to happen pretty much for most of them, except for AK, sorry. But otherwise, we could have looked at the tight end comebacks. We had a lot of comebacks this season to focus on, and that's something that would have built more drama than what they decided to focus on.
Yeah, and Roy, to that point, the stars that they did focus on are not dramatic people. In fact, two of the people who they've highlighted, Dak Prescott and DeMarcus Lawrence, were touted for financial advice this particular episode more than anything else. You know, like they're these guys who are well aware of their brand, well aware that there's always attention on them. Like they are not going to step a toe out of line. What you needed was, I mean, you needed the guy we've been talking about this whole time. You needed Jalen Smith. Like that's what you needed if you wanted to generate controversy among the viewers, at least.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about what you thought was like the biggest miss so far that they haven't covered, right? Is it Jalen? Because just having him on, right, brings eyes to the table and brings talking points about your show, right? Good or bad. I mean, from a show standpoint, from what people want to see and talk about, right? I mean, I hate to say it would add fuel to the fire in some cases, it'd be like gasoline to the fire, but almost anything that would have shown Jalen Smith in any capacity would have been worth talking about. In the same vein, right, as Meg mentioned, the two tight ends, right? I mean, you have one coming back from an injury that basically cost him a season, and another who kind of in his mind has every right to think that he could have the number one spot because of what he did a season ago. And that could have been like a clash of, hey, these are two guys fighting for the number one spot, but they never really highlighted that. And then, you know, the third one that comes to mind in my mind, have we seen Randy Gregory in a single clip? He was a part of the meeting, I think, the defensive room meeting. I think I saw him one time. And I wonder if that's something that the Cowboys requested or that he himself requested, or, you know, they made a point to not include because, you know, I'm sorry to kind of take any of your thunder, RJ, because I did want to ask you that question, but was there anybody else that you think they missed on?
So early in the episode when they were still showing them outdoors at practice, I agree with the Randy Gregory thing. I think we all agree with that. There was like a slow-mo pan out of Jordan Lewis on one knee, just sitting there. And it was like, hey, Jordan Lewis is here. You know what I mean? And like the last time this team was chronicled on a documentary like this was in 2017 when they were on All or Nothing. And Jordan had one of the more fiery scenes of that whole season when he went at it with Dez. And, you know, I mean, and maybe Jordan's just like not like that anymore. Maybe Jordan doesn't want to get into it. Maybe there's obviously nobody can channel Dez in the way Dez can, but like, I would have loved to have seen that. We kind of got that with Amari and Trayvon just a little bit. I would have loved to have known the terms of their bet. So I mean, I think that people expect
Trayvon the only cornerback we saw, the only secondary player that we got a profile on at all.
A profile, yes. We did get the clip of Mukwamu talking in the locker room after the interception today.
I'm so glad you begged for that one. Was he rehearsing what he was going to say to the media after the fact? Because he basically gave the Marshawn Lynch speech, the Marshawn Lynch high school speech. Oh, my God, my linemen. Oh, my God, my linemen. Oh, all credit to my linemen. They were so great tonight. I'm taking them to Sizzler. That's what Mukwama was basically saying to himself in the locker room, getting ready for the media after the game. Am I wrong? I swear he was rehearsing what his answer would be post-game about that.
I don't think you're wrong, but I'm happy he made the team. I'll just leave it at that. I don't think you're wrong.
We'll leave the impressions to Bash. So,
yeah.
Although we did a good accent the other day, so
I know I need to stick to Dirty.
Yeah. So it's weird because again, like I think people expect the Cowboys to be this like. Again, like people have these, and I mean nationally, these impressions of the Cowboys, like, oh, Jerry Jones will do whatever it takes. He'll pay for whatever free agent. Like all these people have these misconceptions. That's like, what team have you been following for the last 20 years? And so I think that people think like, oh, the controversy is going to write itself for the Cowboys. Like, no, like every one of these dudes understands what like they're in. You know what I mean? Like they practice in the middle of a corporate campus. You know what I mean? Like they're fully aware that there are always and constantly eyes on them. So they're not going to do anything that is, seemingly in any way, sense, shape, or form out of line. But so I guess my answer is Jordan Lewis, I guess is where I ended up there. Tom, who do you feel like they've missed? Like who have you not seen that you would have liked to have seen more from? Honestly, Tom, not to set you up poorly or anything, but they've given us Ben DiNucci like crazy. How did you not touch on Garrett Gilbert or Cooper Rush or that battle? Like y'all mentioned tight ends, like that was the other battle going on.
Yeah, that was one thing that they could certainly have gotten, but it's almost like you said, like there was a deliberate attempt to drain the drama from it. I mean, they went with Amari Cooper in the battle with Trayvon Diggs, and with a little help from Dak pushing their buttons, Cooper got a little fired up and everything, and you were seeing a little bit like, it's a personality. And then at the end, he kind of says, "Well, I need to apologize for that." I didn't mean to do that. I was like, no, come on, let it go, Amari.
Meg, I think you're the only person who's in Cowboys world that I could say this to. Dak in that whole sequence to me reminded me of Johnny Bananas. For anybody who has watched the challenge on MTV, this is an incredible tangent that won't apply to a lot of people, but Meg will make it make sense. Bananas is a character on this show. It's a reality show, Tom and Roy, who's a long tenured, figure in that world.
Charismatic leader.
Right.
But
he has talked about before on different shows and podcasts and stuff, how he's kind of a producer within the game. Like he stirs the pot to make great television. And I kind of felt like that was Dak. Like Dak, not necessarily playing it up for cameras, but playing it up for juice, for practice, right? Like to get the hype, get the energy going. So that, and what one small moment, Meg, that I love is Dak even walks over to McCarthy and is like, "Oh yeah, Trayvon said that Mari won't catch a ball," and he's making sure everybody knows, so everybody's paying attention. So the energy, the intensity is all the way up. Am I reaching too far here? Dak Bananas.
No, you're not. But maybe I just want to realign where you're thinking here. Maybe he's a little more of a CT in that way, because that's the new wave. CT is the one that's doing that these days. And also CT wears Johnny Bananas like a backpack, if we want to go that far. So who's the alpha right here? So but it's very clear, to your point, that Dak is a leader in the locker room. He is a leader on the field. He is trying to get the most out of everybody at every point. So whether it's teasing, whether it's talking crap to somebody, he's going to do something to get a reaction, and they're all enjoying it. Whether it makes them want to, hit someone harder or joke around more. They're all having a good time.
Yeah. Roy.
Maybe not Garrett Gilbert, but.
Or Meg Otis says, good point. So good job, you. Roy, I Bleed Blue 365 says, still haven't gotten much Gallup. That's, overlooked by everyone, for being honest. Everyone in the national media overlooks Michael Gallup.
The fence jump.
Yeah. I mean,
that was the highlight of the entire show for him. That was probably the most we've seen of him. But I mean, I think by and large,
did they? Did I miss that?
No, they never did, actually. Mm-hmm. Did they? No. Okay.
It was just all over our Twitter for so long.
Yeah, we saw it.
The stuff that we're talking about, they're just missing, apparently.
Yeah, so he never even got that run on the show. I mean, in general, I think the wide receivers have been a little bit overlooked. We got the little bit of CD in regards to his candles, right? His nuts candle that I predicted that he still has. I mean, you're wasting time, CD. This is the time. You should have already released it or announced it on your Instagram.
Jalen would have, come on.
Right? Dak was ready to go, right? Pylon Prescott is probably going to be sold in stores near you here in the next month or so. I imagine he's on top of that. So CD, get on that. But yeah, I mean, the wide receivers in general, I don't think have been profiled all that much. So yeah, for Michael Gallup not to be a part of that, surprising, yes, because that's another one they could have gone to, but they've made their bed with the number of players that we've seen that, quite frankly, I mean, we're not a whole lot of familiar with, and most Cowboys fans would not have been familiar with to begin with. And those are the guys that ultimately had the storylines in the end where, we say goodbye and have to deal with that emotionally.
Tom, what did you make of John Fossil's Etch-a-Sketch skills at the beginning of the episode, drawing when they were having the virtual meeting and just kind of playing around? He's clearly a jovial guy. And then he also was like, hey, CJ, what do I always say about these virtual meetings? He set up this huge thing, and then he's like, you hate him. He's like, that's right, I hate him. That was the punchline was, I hate them.
He says they're for the birds, and I'm like, oh, way to edit for the camera there, Fossil. You know, why don't you tell us what you really think? Give us
Was RJ editing that, like, or no?
Yeah,
no, he said he literally. That was what CJ Goodwin said. He said, "Tell him what I," and he was like, "You hate him." He was like, "That's right, I hate him."
Yeah, and they're for the birds. It's like they're for the birds. I mean, this isn't a bunch of kindergartners you're talking to. You know, I thought he could have really cut loose with something a little bit more there.
Hey,
you know,
maybe he's not that guy.
Huh?
He might not be that guy.
Yeah, I think I've heard him say
so
things.
hang on, I just thought of something that was around this, maybe not this point of the episode, but I just thought of it. That's all that matters. And I want to go roundtable answers here. So Tom, we'll start with you. Would you ever, like Jaquan Hardy, get a forkful of macaroni and then go into yams and eat it in one bite?
I don't think so.
That's what he did.
But I know exactly that was what he did. I pointed that out. That he was going the mac and cheese with the yams on the fork, and you know, it's such a Southern thing though, and you know, he obviously likes his food. He likes his fried chicken and everything. It was an interesting culinary choice, I will say.
Do yams make you faster? Like, it's one thing for him to say it, but to hear that regurgitated from Usain Bolt, it makes you think.
I got to be honest. I've only had yams like twice in my life, so I'm not like an expert on this. Roy, I know I said
Am I nuts?
Order, but...
Aren't they just sweet potatoes? These sweet potatoes.
Yeah, I mean, that's my understanding.
Yes.
But so, would you eat the mac and cheese with the yams in one forkful? That felt a little, you know, that felt like when they bring the dinosaurs back to life. It's like don't mess with life.
I've never done it, but I mean, is the idea of sweet and salty not a positive one? Not worth a shot?
I don't want my mac and cheese to be like overly salty.
I'll give that a shot. Right?
Why is that overly salty?
Say what?
Okay, first of all, as someone who has a casserole that is with macaroni, cheese, and yams, it's delicious. First of all,
so you're saying the combo's good?
I think it sounds like it'd be a good combo. I think it sounds like it'd be a good combo.
Also, if I was him, I would have put a little chicken on that bite too, and like really rounded it out. Like,
interesting point from this scene. DJ Dog 31 notes because Jaquan was not dining alone. Anthony Hines was there in his sling, and DJ Dog notes that Anthony Hines has had more airtime than Jalen Smith. I don't think any of us had connected that. That's a pretty interesting sort of result there.
Well, deleted scene. I was really upset they didn't have the hot dog scene on there so we could talk about hot dogs. But with Anthony Hines, that was previewed on their Instagram channel, and they didn't ever cut it into the episodes.
Yeah, it would be cool if we did have like some YouTube clips or something like that we could, you know, see these things on these particular scenes because they've got all this film
still on their Instagram. But it's like, why didn't you acted like that was going to be in an episode with Anthony Hines?
I have a philosophical question that came up from this episode for all of you. And I want you to think about it very hard, but don't think about it at all. Because if you think about it too hard, then you might second guess yourself. How many times has your second thought been a better thought than your first thought?
A lot.
Because, my answer is a lot of times when I've considered something a second time. It's
better
been
not do that.
I'm glad I took the time to consider that. Granted, I understand the context in which they're saying it.
Your first thought that it was like okay, but your second thought that it was actually not?
Yeah, no. I mean, again, DeMarcus was like, how many times has your first thought not been your best one kind of in the meeting room? And I'm thinking so many times. Like so many times, too many times to count. Thank God I reconsidered those items. So I laughed to myself when I heard that out loud because I thought to myself, that makes for a great saying inside of a locker room for a sports team, but it's not a great practical concept.
That was really existential, Roy. Back-to-back weeks.
I'm asking you. I'm asking you.
Yeah, RJ, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, RJ.
I don't know. Like, I don't
give us your first answer though. Maybe your second one.
Well, I don't generally like, like flow chart my thoughts. You know what I mean? Like, I just kind of shoot from the hip. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just go. And
you always go with your first one then.
I don't know. I mean, like, I'm definitely calculated, but I mean, sometimes it is. a second thought, but sometimes like a second thought is just a reaffirmed first thought. You know what I'm saying? So ultimately it is your first thought. So Tom, are you following? Because I got lost a little bit here.
Yeah, I just know that there's a time when you need to go with your first thought, and maybe playing on the football field is it. But life in general goes much better if you stop and reconsider that emotional reaction, because it can really lead to bad things. Especially those of us who have been married know about that.
That's wow. This has gotten really philosophical. Let's get back to things that matter. I am Jacques, but this was kind of the post-credit scene. It says, can we eventually talk about whatever the hell was going on with Jerry and Whataburger? So the final scene here that we see is Jerry at anybody correct me if I'm wrong, Jerry Jones Classic that happened over the weekend, where he's doing, and the coin toss was really terrible. It was like a forward pass, you know what I mean? Like he shot it forward as opposed to straight up. But then Jerry's talking to what I assume is the CEO or at least manager of a Whataburger or something, and he's just going on and on and on. He asks, I guess, his assistant to confirm that how many times a week he gets Whataburger, to which the man says 5 at least. And then Jerry also says, oh, and I love to eat it the way it is. If it's been sitting there for an hour and a half, I won't warm it up. And then he says, I want the natural taste, as if the composition of the meal is going to be altered by being in the microwave for 30 seconds. Roy, since your brain is in a fascinating space right now, I'll throw this to you first.
Listen, first of all, they're all lies. Jerry does not eat Whataburger 5 times a week, because there's no way that someone who eats Whataburger 5 times a week would also describe it as its original taste, with its original taste oozing out of the sides, right? First of all, no one has like the original the whole point of Whataburger is that you make it the way that you want it, right? No pickle, no lettuce, whatever you want. That's the kind of thing of it, not to mention the fact that a lot of what they do is like the specialty sandwiches, right? It's the singular specialty sandwiches. Do you think Jerry can name a 1? No. I promise you he cannot. In fact, he didn't even have the foresight to call it a Whataburger. He called it the original, because he's smart enough to know not to mince words and try to get too far in the weeds as he's describing his terrific sponsor, who he did somehow, though, mention 5 times in that minute clip.
Tom, are you with Roy? Do you think Jerry was lying through his teeth a little bit here, just kind of shaking hands and kissing babies with the Whataburger people?
Oh, I think he was definitely trying to make up for putting McDonald's front and center earlier.
Oh, great call, Tom.
He was going like, we got to
now look here. I'm gonna give you a whole minute spot at the end of Hard Knocks. Okay, I'm gonna mention Whataburger so many times it's gonna make your head spin. Okay, you ain't never seen anybody mention Whataburger as much. What do you call it? The original? I don't care. I'll just mention it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Meg, where do you fall on the conspiracy spectrum?
Do I believe that Jerry eats a lot of Whataburger? Yes, I do. But do I believe that he orders it himself? No.
He did say
he puts a lot of salt on it. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I think, we're all Texas proud, Texas forever. Matt Saracen, the whole gang and everything.
Matt Saracen is the one character you picked out of that?
He's the quarterback who won state. So I don't know why that wouldn't be a sufficient choice. So you can get out of here. Jason Street didn't win state. JD McCoy didn't win state. So he's the lone Dylan Panther who won state as the quarterback.
Street like that?
I'm just
saying. Who are these people?
Hey, Jason Street.
Friday Night Lights. I knew it was something. God.
Anyway, we're all fans of Whataburger. Love Whataburger. I tweet about Whataburger all the time. I'm so happy.
Spicy.
Let's go. That's right. I'm totally with you, Roy.
He knows nothing about spicy mustard spicy ketchup. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I guaranteed, right? He has no idea.
That's what I'm saying. As much as we love Whataburger, this quadrant right here, I don't think any of us have ever had a week where we've eaten it 5 times. Has anybody? I mean,
does he eat it 5 times? Absolutely not. Does he eat it? Yeah.
yeah, I could imagine he has it once.
Does he order it himself? No.
I don't even think he gets the same thing. But I don't even think he has like a thing he stands for, Roy. Jerry's not out here like, oh, they got the Pico de Gallo burger, I'm gonna try that. Like,
No.
that's
Yeah.
not.
He's
that's
never
not how
tried a
he's rolling.
specialty thing in his life. I don't think he
so
even tried a breakfast item if I'm gonna like be that crazy.
Well, you don't think he knows about the honey butter?
I
Oh.
don't think he knows about the honey butter chicken biscuit. I think that intimidates him, honestly.
yeah, I'm with you, Tom. I think it was some T's and P's to make up for all the McGriddle stuff. He said, "Don't worry, I got you." You know what I
To
mean?
be fair, you can't get that in California, but I digress.
I mean, that's a fair point. And maybe that's how he softened it. You know what I mean? All I'm saying is if we look at the last 2 episodes, the intro scene last week has a drone flying through a Ford F-150. This week, the post-credit scene is all about Whataburger. I mean, so next week Jerry's gonna be like in a giant Dr. Pepper bottle, and that's just kind of how this is gonna roll. So
And he's
Tom,
swim in a pool of Miller Lite next.
exactly. Tom, what else you got? What's on your mind? Anything, Tom? Anything you want?
I love how this turned Ezekiel Elliott into the goofy, lovable big kid. He has just been so much fun. They could have actually put more Zeke in the whole series and made it more entertaining and more fun, because every time he's on the screen, he's just hilarious watching what he's doing. And his energy just comes across. That scene where he was sprinting into the locker room because he didn't want everybody to beat him in. That's just. I think they could have played him up even more and had fun with it. But I guess they couldn't do too much. They had to come up with their storylines, and unfortunately, they have to start this before they know how things are going to end. And they picked their 3 main storylines and have stuck with them. So, we're going to have to see how it plays out in the end.
Yeah, Roy, the last documentary series we got on the Cowboys was, again, the All or Nothing season in 2017, the most tumultuous year of Zeke's career so far, the will he, won't he be suspended dance that happened all throughout the first 10 weeks of the season. And I think that besides just everything that was happening, painted Zeke in a really poor light for national fans, fans that don't follow the Cowboys on a daily basis or anything. Because this, to Tom's point, this is kind of who Zeke's been. If you follow the Cowboys, he's always been the goofy guy, always cracking jokes, being silly, whatever. This the guy who jumps in the kettle, who throws Dak in the kettle, whatever. I'm not trying to be like I'm a genius, but I did say in the lead up to Hard Knocks that this could soften his image on a national basis, have people kind of like Tom saying, come away thinking like, man, he's a goofy guy. He likes to make jokes. He's wearing a Luka Doncic jersey. Like he's happy-go-lucky. Do you think that, not that was the goal, but do you think that has been achieved like Tom does?
Yeah, it definitely is. It 100% has been achieved, right? And it's always an avenue, I think, for running backs, like good ones, right? If you do have a little bit of personality, right? I mean, Marshawn Lynch showed it off at times. I think of guys like Mark Ingram, right, who've gotten a lot of run for their personality. Big Truss, if you want to do like that avenue is there. Saquon Barkley is extremely marketable, right, as just an individual who is a powerhouse, right? He was already getting a lot of commercials and things with Baker Mayfield really before he had even done anything with any type of consistency. So I think that avenue is always there. And I mean, Zeke has obviously played up to that well, both literally and now I think in front of the cameras, giving us a softer side and giving the average fan that doesn't follow the team on a regular basis, like you mentioned, that knows that's a part of his stylings, 100%. Like Zeke's stock probably risen the highest of any individual that's been featured on Hard Knocks thus far.
Meg, inverse of that question, whose stock has fallen the most? And it could be because they haven't been shown. It could be because they've been shown a lot. I have an answer for that if you want me to buy you some time.
Yeah, go ahead, please. Tell me what you think, RJ.
I think it's Mike McCarthy for the national fans. Because
can't win as a coach, can you?
Right. I think, and to be clear, I think all of this is stupid. But, I do some shows with people that cover other teams at SB Nation, and they are all just, last week I argued, on one of our shows, people were saying like, this is so stupid, the speeches he's giving on, it's like that, I think he looks like a caricature. That's the way people are kind of perceiving him, which is really unfair. I think people want to find reasons. People are looking to confirm their priors with him. And so like they'll be, tomorrow's headlines will be, look how goofy he is with his, hotel room. Sure. I forgot what you called it, Meg. You know what I mean? Like, why is he dancing? This is so stupid. Just name the captain. Hurry up. Nobody needs to see this. I do think that like, it seems like the players connect with him. And that's why I thought the moment with Dak telling him the Amari Trayvon thing was important. Everybody blew the little tense moment they had, really out of proportion. And they were like, does this mean that Dak hates him? Well, how about this moment? Dak's going out of his way to include McCarthy. He's Jenny giving Forrest a seat on the bus type thing, like come be part of this. But what is your answer?
I have a ton of friends outside of the Cowboys
ton
bubble.
Of friends. Way to brag. All right.
Yeah, whatever. I have a lot of friends that are fans of other teams, and they're always the one thing they've come to me and said is they think that McCarthy and Dak hate each other. Mm-hmm. So the fact that you pointed that out, I was like, I don't think it's that deep, but right. If that's what you want to take away from Hard Knocks, like, okay, interesting. I think as far as who's like kind of losing in the edit of this show is probably Leighton Vander Esch as well. Just because it seems that when he's on camera, it's always just a quick quip about why are you trying so hard? Why do you try so hard to win all the time? Like that kind of stuff. And that just doesn't bode well. Like, and I'm not holding it against him because I think that he does want to play. And I think that he is a great linebacker. And I think that he'll do well this season, hopefully, fingers crossed. But it just seems that every time that they are showing him, something like that comes out, and that does not make him look good.
Yeah. That's a good answer. Eric says, aloha from Hawaii, everybody. Where
Aloha.
50,000 Dallas Cowboys fans reside. Love your Hard Knocks after show. Aloha to you, Eric. Aloha, hello. Not hello, aloha, goodbye, as we've discussed on Miscongeniality. Tom, whose stock has lowered the most for you? You've had time to think about it, so I want to hear this like, oh, you put me on the spot type thing. No, you had time.
Everybody on the offensive line except Isaac. There were some... they got 4 players coming back from IR that they could have talked about, and they were non-entities. They just didn't cover them at all. That was just like the storyline vanished. I thought that was something as a guy who's really into football stuff and not reality show drama things. I would love to have seen them go into the fact that Tyron and Lyle and Zach and even Biotish were all coming back from IR, and the Cowboys were rebuilding their offensive line, hopefully to have them healthy. That is so key to the season. It's second only to keeping Dak upright throughout the season to the success of the Cowboys, particularly on offense. And to me, it's like, guys, what? These guys don't exist? And they could have even worked in, Farniok, who is made the team so far, which was kind of a surprise because it would look like he was getting lost in the shuffle. And now all of a sudden he may actually be a better backup center than the Connor Williams experiment, which was another storyline they could have delved into about how that kind of flopped and got kind of smelly.
Toddster says that you are spot on.
Todd, you are spot on.
Congratulations. You're spot on like the dartboard behind Roy's shoulder. Roy,
I don't think that's a dartboard.
It is a dartboard. We talked about this before we started the show when you were late, so no big deal.
You better stay on after we're done, by the way, Meg.
Roy, to piggyback off of Tom's point, maybe I'm really reaching too far, but in the meeting where people will criticize the way McCarthy was dressed, after he announces Isaac as a captain, Tyler is so happy for him. I mean, he's hugging him and he's patting him and he's gassing him up. And then Tyler was one of the first people to run out onto the field after the Aaron Parker touchdown in the game against Jacksonville. I think Tyler Biadasz kind of climbing the rank of leadership on the Cowboys. That's nice to see in his second season. Again, maybe I'm reaching too much.
Yeah, you're reading into that. I think you're seeing a little too much in a couple
Sorry
of clips
for being
there.
optimistic.
I'm gonna put a wet blanket on that.
Love. My bad.
No one's listening to a thing that Biadasz is saying as long as Tyron Smith and Zach Martin are still on that offensive line, okay? He's got 4 years before he could potentially take anything over. He's got to get into his second contract before he could take anything over from a leadership standpoint in that room.
Yeah, he and Connor Williams don't even get to walk out with the big three. So
yeah, like you guys slightly back, right?
But I will say this in defense of RJ. I did see, I think it was Zach Martin was talking about Biadasz and praising him a lot.
Look at that.
So,
I don't disagree. He's going to be a nice player, right? And as a center, you've got to be the most vocal guy on the team. But, even when Travis was at his peak, I always thought of him as third in line. And so I think at Biadasz's best, that's probably what we could hope for. I had two kind of people that fell in stock for me. I mean, number one, the obvious answer, no one's stock fell further than Ben DiNucci.
But
he went from being a guy that was considered to be a practice squatter to now being a guy who just had his last NFL opportunity, like enshrined in Hard Knocks forever, right? He'll be able to watch that with his grandkids and say, guys, look, this was like the last time I ever got to play football. And that's kind of sad.
They gave us the clip of him picking up his pants. You know what I mean? Like, why are we beating this?
Yeah, we didn't have to see that.
Did we? I think we got a completion. I think we got like 2 completions from him this whole series. Outside of that, it was all like him complaining to himself about how he overthrew or underthrew somebody. Mike McCarthy complaining about how he underthrew somebody. His coach, Nussmeier, telling him, that ball was behind him. Let's move on to the next play. Like, I don't even want to talk about it. Don't even say anything. Ball was definitely behind him. Let's move on. There's no question about it. But the other big loser, and I think they got a harsh rap, Rec Specs. Rec Specs are awesome. And
you mean the product, not Jaquan Hardy.
Yes, right. Rec Specs are awesome. The product, not Hardy. And I don't think you have to immediately go to contacts just because, like the fogging up factor. Tom, I've not experienced the fogging up factor. I don't think that's a major issue. I'm a fan of the Rec Specs, and I think he should have continued on with them.
Yeah, I've never worn Rec Specs. I just know that wearing a mask around with my glasses can lead me to running into stationary objects.
That is true. I have experienced that.
Zeke's assessment of this was interesting. When the game started, he was kind of touting himself, saying, "I told y'all, you need to get those Rec Specs off." And then to drive home his point, he says, "There have been plenty of people in the history of the NFL who have been blind." that have gotten contacts. Zeke, I get the point you're trying to make, but you went too far.
Quick question around the room: Do you want a guy that's blind on your football team?
So
Meg, you go.
Nah.
What?
No thanks.
I think that I like this memory is so distant in my mind that I kind of think I made it up. I've never double checked this, but I believe that Chris Sims, not Phil, when he was at the University of Texas, I could be wrong, had a clear visor that was his prescription. Why can't that happen?
Wow.
If that's true, what are we all doing?
Yeah. But you get what I'm saying? Like, if why go through the hassle of the contacts if you can put a visor that is like a clear visor again, or tinted, whatever you want, but as long as it's your prescription.
Also, I'm pretty sure he was just like wearing his Rec Specs wrong.
Yeah, I felt bad for him when he was constantly cleaning them. That had to be uncomfortable.
And like couldn't get a towel. Hey,
oh my gosh, the towel running away from him as he's trying to wipe his hands off. That was
so sad.
And that might have been worse than the missed fist bump of Dan Quinn's in episode 1.
Yes.
I've missed Dan Quinn. Obviously, he's been out because he's been in COVID protocol. But I really, especially after the first episode, we all thought like he was developing into the star of the show. I think his stock has fallen just by way of natural cause here. Nothing that the editing has done in any sense. Meg, you had a point.
I'm just shaking my finger at you. I disagree. The Swag Daddy Dan legend will live on throughout the season. It's just beginning.
I mean, sure, but we're talking about Hard Knocks. You know what I mean? And so
yeah,
DQ. That's what I like about Texas.
Like I said, I have a few qualms with Hard Knocks, but yes, I digress. You're correct.
Okay. Let's set the stage, and the plan for everybody who's with us, the plan is for Shannon Furman, who is in charge of Hard Knocks for NFL Films. The plan is for her to join us for our live stream next week, so look forward to that. She's obviously very busy, so don't hold it against her if that doesn't come to pass, but the plan is for her to join us. So we can, hold her feet to the fire here, Tom, if, things don't live up to what we want. There's one episode left. That's it. You got one left. This is like the final episode of How I Met Your Mother, and we're like, don't do it. Don't mess it up. You know what I mean? Like,
don't talk about the final season of that show. It's the worst ever.
So what do you want to see, Tom? And again, acknowledging and factoring in that it's been unique with the roster cuts and how delayed it's going to be, et cetera. So what do you want to see in the Hard Knocks finale?
I want to see how the coaches go through this emotionally, because I don't think people realize how hard this can be for the coaches. And yeah, like that would be great.
DJ Dog says there's been no scenes of coaches in the meeting room discussing roster cuts. That's what you want. You want to see, basically you want to see them in pain.
Yeah, I want to see I want to see how hard it is, and the fact that this, it's not a completely cold, heartless business. The cuts do shatter people's dreams a bit, but I wanted to show the fact that they actually realize these are human beings that they're dealing with and having to make these hard calls on. And I'm really am interested to see that play out. And I really hope we get to see some of that where they're sitting there, maybe discussing what they're going to do about Cooper Rush versus Garrett Gilbert, or about whether Jaquan Hardy makes the roster or not, or maybe they will allow them to go into, planning like, okay, we're going to, cut this guy, but we're going to try to bring him back after we get through all the COVID people and all that stuff in the IR. That's what I want to see, is how the coaches go through that stuff.
Roy, Micah wants to see Isaac get his cake. I think that's on the wish list. I think that was going to be Meg's thing.
You ain't getting him. You better order him some Tiff's treats or something, because he ain't getting no cake from the Cowboys.
I could see, like, if he makes the practice squad, like, I could see a scene with his family, and because it's his thing now. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I don't think he ever envisioned when he said that.
Think he knows he's the cake guy?
He has to know. I'm very positive.
There will be a dozen signs at AT&T Stadium about, give us the cake. I want the cake. Bring me the cake. Right? He actually could probably, we talk about CD and his candles and all those things. He could probably do a decent job of marketing himself with just a "I want the cake" T-shirt.
Well, right? we saw Azur Kamara take a photo with a fan in the Cowboys Pro Shop. I would have to believe that anytime for the next year that Isaac is asked for a photograph, they'll be like, "Can you say I want the cake?" Like he will get that, and the people will want it like on video and stuff. Like they'll TikTok and everything. Tom Toddster says it's obvious that you have a big, kind heart, and that is wonderful.
It's true.
He's a big teddy bear.
Tom is the best. Okay, Meg, we'll leave Roy for last then. What do you want to see since your cake option was taken?
Well, what I do want to see, given what we have seen so far, what I'd like to see is, give us that finality of the Dak comeback. Like lead us up into the first game.
That should be the last scene, is like Dak walking somewhere. That should be the very last scene. Like Sean Lee's final scene on All or Nothing, like going back to work and setting the film. We need to see a Dak.
The chills. I know you can do it, Hard Knocks. Like lead us up into that first game against Tampa Bay with like, we're ready to go, battle tested. Like that's what I want to see.
Roy.
Yeah, that was exactly kind of along the lines of what I was thinking of, and Tom alluded to it earlier, right? They've got this extra bye week now where they're almost so far past cuts that I kind of expect the first half of the episode to be about roster construction, maybe those conversations and those emotional moments of the cuts. But then I do want to see like what practice looks like in a way with the ones, right? Who's with the ones on defense, on offense. And I know they're not going to go that deep into it because I'm sure there's a strategy issue there that the Cowboys don't want to give away too much to an opponent. But at the same time, Tuesday night's episode will air on the final day that the Cowboys will practice before their first game of the season. So they could get footage right up until Monday and presumably still package it together for something that we could see on Tuesday night. So, yeah, I hope they will give us something to sink our teeth into as we head into the regular season and not just a look back on everything that transpired in the preseason.
Well, I hate to bring it up, but are they even allowed to keep filming, or are they done? Did their filming end with training camp?
That's a good question. And this is unique, like this, because this is the first Hard Knocks with the 3 preseason games, the bye week, and the fact that they were also in the Hall of Fame game. I mean, so it's been a unique season in that sense. You're right, Tom. It might just be footage of cuts of players coming in, like metaphorically.
Second half, just a tour of AT&T Stadium. Charlotte Jones showing off the artwork. Steven hanging alongside, like giving you a tour of things. That's another thing, actually, that I'm surprised they didn't go into at all, right? You could do a Jerry, and I know we get so much of Jerry that, people probably get tired of it, but you could do a Jerry family thing where you kind of looked at the tree of Jerry and who's in what position. I would be interested to kind of know all those specifics kind of how deep those roots run.
I don't think he wants you to know.
That's exactly why I'd be interested to know.
We all want to know, but
right.
I am Jacques says I just want a week of Jerry's meals. Definitely interesting. Like
so
let's call
really prove or
let's
disprove.
call them out for sure.
Yeah.
You all had great answers. They were all incorrect though.
And yours?
Yeah, RJ, you haven't told us what your answer is. Please regale us.
I feel so special, guys. Really appreciate y'all.
Tom, you need to get in on this.
I know Universe have the take that's this team is too relaxed. This team is having too much fun. Like they're just joking around. But I do want to see an energy shift if we do get some footage of practice preparations, right? Like, and it's training camp. It's preseason. It is lighthearted in some senses, and I have enjoyed the kind of big brother rooting on players, whatever, eating sunflower seeds, etc. But this is different, right? Like we've all come here since the final week of October of 2020. Like we've been waiting since that week for this week, right? Like we've literally been waiting for the next game of significance for this team, and it has been a long time. We've been through an enormous amount of things since then. We've been through Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, 2 playings of the Masters, but 2 different U.S. Opens, one happening this week, the NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, baseball season, the Olympics. Like we've been through an enormous amount of things just to get back to have a chance. And so I want to see that shift, and I want to see that shift in McCarthy. And I think we've kind of seen that from him a little bit. It's clear that he's a serious person. So I want to see the disposition change if we do get a glimpse of that. And kind of to piggyback off of your point, Meg, not that I want like a Dak exit scene, but I want kind of like that Dak scene we got in the first episode where he was sitting at like what looked to me like a gazebo, you know what I mean? Where he's kind of having this third person or fourth wall breaking kind of talk, this is where we're going. This is where I'm headed. This is what I came for. This is what I was born to do, blah, blah, blah. I need that. Like you're right. Like we need the movie to finish, right? We want, we want that payoff, and that's what we have been waiting for.
Let's get psyched. We're playing next Thursday.
Yeah.
Sounds like what you're saying is bring the juice.
Bring the juice.
Actually, I would put it a different way, Roy. I would say I need Hard Knocks to give us a mojo moment. You know what I mean? Like
how did I know you were going to say that?
I mean, because I'm really predictable. But you know what I mean? Like, and actually though, I want like a circle back. Like I want to tie a bow. I want one of those like, holy crap, Marvel, like, provided this detail like in a movie 6 years ago that like now holds significance or whatever. Like I want that kind of Easter egg, payoff type thing. Just because we've waited for it. We've endured all of this. You know what I mean?
We deserve it.
Yeah, like we deserve it. If we're being honest with ourselves, we need our cake, so to speak.
Man, well, I can't wait for you guys to put that in the producer's face next week that they didn't deliver you an Easter egg from episode 1 to episode 5, that they didn't put together what was going to happen 5 weeks later, and make sure they wrote that in. I look forward to that.
I could have told them how to do this exactly if they asked, but they didn't. So, I'll be waiting. My DMs are open.
They're still trying to make up for excluding the Aaron Donald Connor Williams scuffle. You know what I mean? Like
or showing it in the complete wrong order.
Yeah, like we've been a little bit behind the 8 ball ever since that moment, just a little bit. But I have enjoyed what we've gotten. The drone video made up for a lot of things. And the soundtrack has been really great. We got that super spooky version of Eye of the Tiger today. That was really great.
We also got Olivia Rodrigo, so
they snuck in some Olivia Rodrigo. Great initials, wrong order. I mean, it was a solid episode from a soundtrack perspective. One final word to describe this episode from each of you. Tom, one word.
It kind of haunting because you knew what was happening to some of the players.
Which of those words is your word?
Haunting.
Oh, okay, just making sure.
There you
Meg,
go.
One word.
Is that?
Okay.
That's it.
Roy.
That's all I have.
Foreboding.
Foreboding.
That's a good one.
Foreboding, because they left us. I thought we would get cuts this episode, and so I thought it was a little short too. I mean, I was surprised at how quickly it ended from when I jumped onto it right at 9:00.
They're not like the Love Island producers. They can't flip around an episode in one day. Like we couldn't get the cuts from yesterday and this morning today.
My word would be original, like Jerry Jones's. You know what I mean? Like that, the original. You know what I mean?
Extra salt.
Yeah. Do you guys
sides?
Do you guys warm up your Whataburger? Like if you get home and you don't get a chance to eat it, like do you throw it in the microwave?
No, but
How long does it take you to get home after Whataburger?
I don't know. Jerry Jones apparently. You know what I mean? Like so.
Yeah, I mean, I would microwave a burger, right? I would microwave it if it has been out for if it hasn't been out in room temperature for more than 45 minutes. I will reheat it, right? And I think a burger from Whataburger does well in a reheat from a microwave standpoint. I will not microwave French fries. Those have to be baked in the oven or they can be tossed out altogether.
Here's the thing. I don't understand how your Whataburger is not being eaten within 2 seconds of you receiving it. So I cannot relate.
I mean, I kind of get it. This isn't Jerry Jones's life, but you pick it up on your way home, you get home, you check your phone, something happened, you had a call, whatever, all of a sudden it's been 20 minutes. You know what I mean?
Incorrect. What happens is you get it from the drive-thru window, you eat it, and then you're home.
No.
Eat in the car? No.
Yeah, eating a burger.
It's too dangerous of a burger to eat
in the car. Eating a burger is not the right call.
In the car.
It's oozing from the sides.
It's oozing smell it for 10 minutes? Get out of here.
No, that's what the fries are for. The fries get you home.
I've never made it home with a Whataburger bag.
Again, that's congratulations.
A 4-fry drive for me.
It's driving.
And it's not far from me.
Still, though, what the veteran move is you get a second order of fries for the drive home. You know what I mean? So that you still have the solid ratio of a burger to fries when you get home. Because the worst part is when you get home, you're like, man, I've eaten 60% of the fries. Now I don't have the ratio that I need for the burger. So, yeah, it is what it is. But,
I just stuff it all in my mouth and call it a day.
I'm saying
I want the Whataburger and I want it now.
This is the note I want to end on. Is that Jerry Jones has referenced food while in both California and Texas. And one of those has been a reference to Whataburger, but neither of those references have been to In-N-Out. That's all I'm saying.
And they never would be, even though there's one right down the road.
If you have to put a ton of Thousand Island sauce and onions on it to make it good, it's bad.
Exactly. Okay. We've said it all. We've
Also,
done it all.
If you don't even have ketchup, like, what's the matter with you?
Exactly.
None spicy ketchup? Elite.
You can hear Tom Ryle and Roy White every Thursday on the Blogging the Boys podcast network on Riled Up. You can hear Meg Murray with the talented Kelsey Charles every Friday on Girls Talking Boys. You can follow them all on Twitter. Their handles are right there. Take a screenshot, whatever you want to do. Roy will make a funny face so that it can be that way in the screenshot. Yeah, that's it. So, Roy, actually, no, Tom, you get the final word. The last thing before we end the show. Make it good, Tom. The last exact, I'll give you 6 words if you need them.
We're almost there.
Thanks for watching, everybody.